हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna to all assembled devotees. Hare Krishna, that is pranam. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vijayavalabha Girivaradhari Vijayavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajanarangana Yashoda Yashodanandana Brajajanarangana Yashoda Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Kunja Bihari Vijayavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajanarangana Yashoda Yamunatiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha.
Jaya Radha Madhava Radha
Jaya Gaurangi Glorishwara Gaurangi Glorishwara Gaurangi.
Jaya Gaurangi Gaurangi
Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva, Jai Shubhadra, Jaya Sudarshana, Jaya Jagannatha. Jaya Gauranitha, 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 Jaya Gauranitha. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Anantadhe, Prahlad Simha, Jaya Anantadhe, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Stotra Sadashri Srimad Abhay Charanaaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Stotra Sadashri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। द्वारका धाम की जय, जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी महारानी की जय, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, गौर भक्त प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Tamashloke.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki.
Hari Om Tat Sat. So, Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for ISKCON Seshadripuram's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today I have been instructed to take this 10th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, 10th chapter, and the chapter is entitled Divisions of Creation, and the third canto is entitled The Status Quo. So, third canto, The Status Quo, 10th chapter, Divisions of Creation. In that, we will discuss the first half. That means this chapter has 30 verses. So, we will discuss maybe 15. But I think the last two would be better to continue in the next flow. So we will just touch upon them, but it will, I would request Sri Hari Prabhu to tell the next speaker to, have that 13, 14 possibly, and then just at a highlight and then go on with the next 15 onwards. Okay, now we will read the first one in Sanskrit. The rest of the slokas we will read in English. Division of creation. Vidura uvacha antarhite bhagavati brahmaloke pitamahaha prajaha sasarja katidha daihikir manasir vibhuho. Translation. Sri Vidura said, "O great sage, please let me know how Brahma, the grandfather of the planetary inhabitants, created the bodies of the living entities from his own body and mind after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Okay, so we will start from this. So we know the earlier chapter, second chapter known as Brahma's prayers for creative energy. In that, the last verse where Maitreya Muni, this basically is, we know, a conversation happening between Mahatma Vidura and Maitreya Muni. In this discussion, the earlier chapter, the last verse was that after instructing Lord Brahma, Lord Narayana, of Krishna in the form of Lord Narayana, he actually instructing Brahma to do the secondary creation. After giving this instruction, he actually disappeared. So now, post that, what is happening is what we are going to see now. In this verse, Vidura is very curious to understand, okay, now, now that the instruction has been given, how does Lord Brahma start this creationary process? Please explain everything like that. So he is asking this to Maitreya Muni. Then he continues, "O great learned one, kindly eradicate all my doubts and let me know of all that I have inquired from you from the beginning to the end." So here again, the Prabhupada's commentary again is very relevant, where he's saying, therefore, he is very eager to listen to the spiritual instructions, to the understanding of spiritual knowledge from the great sage Maitreya. And here, therefore, Prabhupada is actually writing, we should make the inquiry to the right person. So this is, Prabhupada has actually written 5 lines in that, and those 5 lines are very, very strong, and particularly in today's context of where Kali Yuga, there are so many startup gurus, right? So many people, if you go to the internet, there are thousands of gurus all over, different names. Upstarts, Prabhupada used to call, right? Upstarts. So many of them are there. You go to the internet, you find so many of them. So many of them are bogus. And Prabhupada will use different words I am not qualified to use. But now, the fact is, all of them are inundating the world with all this wrong information. I will read one line from this, which is very apt. He's saying, one should not approach a layman for replies for specific spiritual inquiries. Now you read this. Such inquiries, when replied to with imaginative answers by the teacher, are a program for wasting time. You see, if you go, this is exactly what we see. So many so-called gurus. They give very innovative answers, right? When questions are asked, they see how I can cover the audience. So many things. And today they are very acknowledged gurus. And their intention is somehow to give answers in a very, in a very eloquent way, in a very intellectual way, or, they make all this audience think, wow, what an answer. So this is going on. And Prabhupada is saying, these kind of imaginative answers are a waste of time for everyone. So that is important. And the point made is, you should inquire from an authorized spiritual master, and who will only transmit the exact message as it is without adding or subtracting anything from it. So that point is to be understood. And the next one is 3rd verse. We will read that. The translation is, Suta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Vidura, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after the other. That is very nice, right? To say everything was in his heart. So these devotees, these pure devotees, are full of Krishna consciousness. They are brimming with Krishna consciousness, and they have so much of detail inside them that, the minute you ask them to speak on Krishna, then it comes out flowing so beautifully. We see even in our own parampara, all the great, wonderful, pure devotees, from Prabhupada to his all the the disciples of Prabhupada, when they speak, we are so eager to listen, right? They can go on speaking for hours together, but we never get tired hearing them. It just keeps flowing from their heart. So like that, that is very important. And here, Maitreya Muni is actually feeling nice. He's going to now come out and, give that nectar flowing. It's going to happen that now from here on. We will go to the next verse. And here, Prabhupada is actually one other important point he's making. He's saying, here, if you see, the discussion has been happening between Maitreya Muni and Mahatma Vidura and Maitreya Muni. And the narration is originally between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Now, suddenly here in this verse, it comes Suta Goswami said. So Prabhupada is bringing that context. So he's saying that, therefore, if it is said here, Suta Goswami said, then there is a break. That means the scene is shifting from the place where Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami were there to Naimisharanya. And here Suta Goswami is speaking continuity of the same subject matter. Not exactly that, okay, I stopped part 1, there part 2 is happening here. There that entire thing happened. And Suta Goswami, Prabhupada is writing, is just one person in that assembly of thousands of great personalities assembled there. And then here is saying, Suta Goswami actually heard perfectly from Sukadeva Goswami. And now in this Naimisharanya, he is actually giving the same discourse what Suta Goswami gave there. And he is giving one particular specific point to explain that. Actually, he's saying here, In this Naimisharanya, there are many hundreds and thousands of sages assembled, and in that, the head of that assembly was Saunaka Muni. And he's saying this Saunaka Muni is actually a descendant of Sukadeva Goswami. So now you see, Sukadeva Goswami spoke there, and then in that there was one a wonderful personality who sort of completely took everything there, and then he is giving it elsewhere, and the descendant of that Sukadeva Goswami is coming out here, and he is sitting and listening to him, and Prabhupada is writing, this however does not make any substantial difference in the topic under discussion. So the personality changed from Sukadeva Goswami to Suta Goswami, and Sukadeva Goswami's descendant is actually now listening from Suta Goswami, and the matter is not changed. So this is exactly what is disciplic succession, and it does not matter. And we see in our own parampara, right? Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he is actually son of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Now, naturally, his father is there and he is alive, and he could have taken initiation from him. But then Bhakti Vinod Thakur instructed him, you go to Gaurakeshwara Das Babaji. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati took initiation from Gaurakeshwara Das Babaji. But the matter is the same as what his father said. It's from another person it came. Does that mean it is changed? And not that he should get it only from his father because that is the correct method. No, he took it from his great personality, but the matter remains the same. So we can see these things are all cannot be changed. These things remain, and we need to just be sticking on to this rather than trying to reinvent something newly and all that. So that portion is very clear that first we take it from the disciplic succession, and in the disciplic succession, technically speaking, if it is a proper disciplic succession, nothing changes. You hear the same old message, and it's always Nava Yavanam Cha also. It is not old, it is always new, but it is the old Adi, it is coming from time immemorial, nothing changes. Krishna says right in the Bhagavad Gita, he's saying, I spoke this science to this same science to Vivaswan and millions of years ago, but I am giving the same science to you now. So just because time changes, that doesn't mean the truth changes, right? The truth is the same. So today we can say, now in modern world for people, I will give a different message because today things have changed. Many of these startup gurus are talking like that. No, nothing changes in the scripture. Nothing in the planets also changes. That is also somewhere when I was preparing for this, I was seeing, the whole thing repeats exactly. There's nothing like, these planets all undergo some kind of a changes over millions and trillions of years. It's all the same. We will see that. So this is very important but at least when people who are strictly following the paramparas, different 4 paramparas, they should stick on very clearly and also educate the world about this. Otherwise, the world will become more and more corrupt because of these bogus abstracts. And then it is very difficult later to reform people, right? If you see something wrong, just tell that, this is wrong. Social media, so many things there. Of course, we have to be having that Vaishnava quality. We cannot be arrogant. We need to be there. But then that is actually Prabhupada wanted, right? We need to defeat all these wrong conceptions in the world. So we need to be intelligent to do it in a very nice manner without, creating this one. Of course, we need to take guidance. How do we do that? But this is one of the important aspects. Next verse. 4th verse. The greatly learned sage Maitreya said, O Vidura, Brahma thus engaged himself in penance for 100 celestial years as advised by the personality of Godhead and applied himself in devotional service to the Lord. So he's saying, Prabhupada is writing, that Brahma engaged himself in the personality of Godhead, Narayana, means that he engaged himself in the service of the Lord. That is the highest penance. Therefore, penance means serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is penance. It's not like, we sit somewhere in a forest and, meditation is also on the Lord. That is also there. But any other service which we are doing it with the topmost priority, with full dedication to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is also called tapasya, penance. It's not different from just sitting in a yogasana posture and then, meditating on the Lord. Yes, that is penance. But at the same time, serving the Lord with a complete dedication, focused mind to please the Guru and Krishna, that is also penance or tapa. And Prabhupada writes another very nice thing here. He says, when you are doing this service for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is nothing called retirement. There is no retirement from such service, which is eternal and ever encouraging. So that is the beauty. That means when we are doing material things, we sort of get tired of it, right? We get sort of tired is bodily, not just in terms of the bodily thing, but you get bored. Okay, this is okay. I've done this many times. Let me take a break. Let me go on a vacation. But when you talk about this transcendental service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's never a moment of feeling that fatigue, that tired. Yes, bodily tiredness may be there, like on a Janmashtami or any other festival day. You work hard, you will feel tired. After all, it's a body, it's material thing. It will feel tired. But that is not the tiredness that is being talked about. But the enthusiasm and the energy that we get while doing the service, the happiness that we get, the bliss that we get, that one, he says, is eternal and ever encouraging. That's why, whatever about Krishna, the earlier I said about this word, Nava Yavanamcha, it is always fresh. Every time you do the same activity, it is a different feeling. It's not like, oh, I have done this for 15 years. So it's the same thing. No, you don't feel. You can see devotees when they are morning Mangalarti when they're doing. It is never like, okay, it's like boring, right? You feel them jumping with energy, even day after day, every day. It's like that. And they feel so fresh every day doing this. So that is the difference between the material tapasya and spiritual tapasya. Material tapasya wants you to take a break. However great you are in your work, you feel, okay, now let me take a break. Let me go on a vacation. But in spiritual life, as devotees advance, we can see this. I am not qualified to say that by experience, but I can always see devotees who are in that range. They don't feel like taking a break. They continue to keep on. I heard there was one pastime. There was once my spiritual master, Solna Jaipatak Maharaj, was there, and then there is one other Prabhupada disciple. So he had actually gone and met, I forget when he told in one of the class. So he said, I had gone to Jaipatak Maharaj and we were discussing, but I was in my mind thinking that, after this, I had been in a very long tour of many activities I was doing, and I was in a very long tour. So after I was as I was talking to Jaipatak Maharaj before that, I was in my mind thinking, okay, after this, I will take a little bit of a detour kind of a thing. I will just cool off for a few days and then do the next whatever set of activities I want to do. So in the intermediate, he just meets Jaipatak Maharaj and is talking. And then in the course of that discussion, Jaipatak Maharaj is asking, okay, what happened to this? What happened to this? So many things they were discussing, God brothers, many discussions. And then this Maharaj said, when I was discussing all these things in my head, I was thinking, oh my God, there is so much to do. I will not even lose one day's time. And he started actually, continuing with whatever his plans were immediately from the same day. So this is the transcendental pastime of that Maharaj and Jayapatak Maharaj, the God brothers, they were discussing and how they were able to look at this Maharaj spoke like that. So that I am able to remember here when you say there's nothing called retirement. You just continue with your services. Okay, now next one. Thereafter, Brahma saw that both the lotus on which he was situated and the water on which the lotus was growing were trembling due to a strong, violent wind. So Brahma was about to create. He has taken darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His task is clear. No confusion in his mind. And he also knows now I am empowered. I am on top of the world, if I may say so, right? That's how you will feel at that point in time. Right now, you have been given the CEO post. Now you handle it. You are empowered. You have all the facilities on your hand. When you are sitting in such a situation, you are always supremely confident, right? Yes, I am the man now. I am going to create history. That is how the thing will be there. Now, at this point in time, he feels that, there's the entire violent trembling of the lotus where he was seated, and the entire, the water below that, everything is agitated. Now you suddenly see, right, you see the Lord, everything is hanky-dory, suddenly everything changes. And then Prabhupada writes here, the material world is called illusory because it is the place of forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. So naturally, this is an illusory world. And in this illusory world, when someone is trying to do some service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and come to reality, so you are in an illusory place, when you try to come to the reality, it is contradicting, right? This place is supposed to be illusory. You are put in a dream world. But when you try to wake up, you'll say, oh, this is not the place to be waking up. Here you only be in illusion. So that the energy of the Lord, which has created this entire illusory world, will start acting. And that's why Prabhupada, if you see many times, he says, this is an emergency fight with Maya. Now, sometimes I used to think, why Prabhupada is saying I am fighting with the energy of the Lord? Why should he fight with the energy of the Lord? Right? We think sometimes like that. Here is a very beautiful explanation to that. Because by nature, this illusory world is meant for being in a state of forgetfulness. Now, in this place, if you suddenly want to be opposite, having an opposite quality of this place, that I want to be in full consciousness, not in an forgetful consciousness, by nature, this is conflicting. And therefore, that energy will work against you. Therefore, there is this fight between those pure devotees who are here, who are in that full consciousness, versus this material energy of the Lord, or the energy of the Lord, which is called material energy, that, they called the fight between Maya and the devotee. So that is exactly happening here between Lord Brahma and the material energy. He says, there is a declaration of war between the two parties, the illusory energy and the devotee. And now we can relate why Prabhupada always says, this is a war with Maya. You keep on fighting, you keep on fighting. Why is he saying that? Because by nature, Maya, the material nature is so powerful, it's so powerful that its function by definition, quality is to keep us in that illusion. Now, if you say, no, I will wake up from that illusion, it's not ordinary. It's like, when you are in a river, the river is flowing in one direction and you decide to go in the opposite direction. They say, no, you go in the opposite flow of the river. Is it easy? It's not easy. That river will naturally, it's not like it intends to do something wrong to you, but it will flow that way because it is nature of the river to flow that way. And you are going in the opposite direction. Therefore, you are in trouble. So, and for the river, it is natural, it will flow. It doesn't need any effort to push you down that thing, it will go. Therefore, the devotee should be so strong to be able to go upstream. And therefore, Prabhupada is talking about Brahma, is saying, Lord Brahma, however, was sufficiently strong. By the costless mercy of the Lord, he could not be victimized by the material energy, although it gave him cause for anxiety when it managed to totter the existence of his position. So he tried to shake him off. But so he was also slightly threatened. He felt a little agitated, but he did not get defeated. That is the position of a devotee who's getting the strength. So all of us also, in our own way, according to our strength, we will also be tested. We will also be shaken. But as we stand, as we have conviction, as we take that one little step forward, then the Lord will help. Here, Prabhupada is writing, right? It's not like Brahma did it on his own. No. By the costless mercy of the Lord. So as we try, the Lord will give that small leaf, when there is a big flood, then one ant is in the water struggling, then someone puts a small leaf underneath and lifts it like that. So the Lord actually gives that protection there. But then this person should have the determination, no, I will fight on, I will not give up. So that is the mood, that lesson we can learn from this particular. If it can happen to Brahma, what are ordinary mortal beings in this material world? So many times, right, we are all faced up with these problems. Some health issues come up, or some calamities in the family. Sometimes some very close devotees, friends, they suddenly get into some trouble or they pass away. when we see all these things, we are agitated. What is happening? How all these things can be done? Is it real? Is it true? Someone lands in moon, then you suddenly feel, oh, we thought moon is a planet which is meant for Swarga, one of those, what do you call, heavenly planets. But then it is proved wrong. That person landed on the moon. When Prabhupada was there, that happened. Now we are seeing, we have landed a craft there. So all these things immediately agitates our brain. Oh, how is it that, all these things can happen? Therefore, is it wrong? Whatever I am believing in, is it wrong? These things happen. But a devotee who has got that strength, he will be able to get over it by the mercy of the Lord. That has been spoken here nicely. And now, what did Brahma do post that? That is also very nice. Long penances and transcendental knowledge of self-realization had matured Brahma in practical knowledge. And thus, he drank the wind completely along with the water. So whatever was troubling him, he was able to overcome that. He subdued them. He literally drank all the wind. Like we have seen Krishna, right? In that when he was young, in that forest fire will happen and there is huge fire. And Krishna will ask all his friends to close their eyes and then he will swallow all the fire. Now here Brahma is actually swallowing all the wind. So this is, Brahma is not an ordinary mortal, but still he is also one of the living entities, right? He is not Narayana Tattva or Vishnu Tattva. He is Jiva Tattva. Then how did he get the ability to do this? So that is something which we should understand. And Prabhupada is writing, Lord Brahma's struggle for existence is a personal example of the continued fight between the living entity in the material world and the illusory energy called Maya. Beginning from Brahma down to this age, the living entities are struggling with the force of material nature. By advanced knowledge in science, so here Prabhupada, sometimes we think, Prabhupada is against scientists. No. Prabhupada knows and says that, through the mode of science also, we are winning the material nature. So Prabhupada is saying here very clearly, he's saying, by advanced knowledge in science and transcendental realization, one can try to control the material nature, which works against our endeavor. And in the modern age, advanced material scientific knowledge and penances, and he's saying both in the same sentence, penances and advanced scientific knowledge have played very wonderful role in controlling the powers of the material energy. So Prabhupada is not against science. He's saying that has done wonderful things. But then he's adding very wonderful role in controlling the powers of the material energy. Such control of the material energy, however, can be most successfully carried out if one is a soul surrendered onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and carries out his order in the spirit of loving transcendental service. So he's saying science is wonderful, but do that science as a service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then that science is also devotional service. So therefore, if you see Prabhupada established the scientific community, and he had some of wonderful disciples who are highly educated in the modern material science, and he made them actually apply it in a different perspective than how the normal material scientist looks at the whole thing. He asked them to use their knowledge, their scientific temperament to actually explore the way you see the things. You have to change in the mode of devotional service. And today we have this Bhakti Vedanta scientific study. So many things are there and manned by very capable devotees. They are all working in this direction. So that's something which is important. And Brahma, and there is, so being like Jiva, how can they control so much? And that is there, but it is actually by the mercy of the Lord, and they actually develop these capabilities. Like there was one instance I recall. I was, there is this video we have, right? Like Prabhupada's, there is I think 14 or 15 video series of Prabhupada, of his disciples during the course of Prabhupada's journey in our planet. when he was there, they used to be there with him, and then they will recall Prabhupada did this, Prabhupada did that, like that. So there was one recollection which I saw. It's important to say the reference very clearly. Therefore, my mistake that I because this I saw some time back. I forget the name of the devotee who said this on that video, but it is there on this video that following Srila Prabhupada. There is this video. There's a set of 15 or some CDs where you will see live video footages of Prabhupada and some one devotee talking about that because he was there with Prabhupada and this happened, like that he will say. So in one of those instances, this devotee was narrating. So the Prabhupada was, we all know he used to translate so late into the night and he will be working very hard like that. So once late in the night, at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, he was writing something, very focusedly was writing. There's no disturbance there. At the time, in far off in that area, there was a lot of rumbling happening. Rumbling means the thunderstorms were rumbling, and it was there. And Prabhupada was trying to focus, but the sound was again and again disturbing his one. And he said, Prabhupada, he could visibly see Prabhupada getting disturbed by this rumbling, and then he did like this, something like. And then it said that entire thundering immediately stopped. So you can see how these pure devotees have the ability to control material nature. Because these are very subtle things. We may not, it's not like a demonstration of, so I am so powerful, therefore, see, I will create this magic, I will bring something, I will perform this magic and show to you all, not like that. But these are all sometimes subtly manifested when they are performing their devotional services, which Prabhupada exhibited in that way, which this devotee saw, and he narrated that. And these are very powerful statements. And we can see as we are progressing, you will see some things change very easily for us, which is very difficult to change, but it changes. Then these are things, how is it changing? That is changing by the mercy of the Lord. As we gain more and more spiritual strength, the Lord is enabling it happen. Not that that person is making it happen. The Lord is making it happen. So that is there. The next verse. Thereafter, he saw that the lotus on which he was situated was spread throughout the universe, and he contemplated how to create all the planets, which were previously merged merged in that very same lotus. So now he is thinking, okay, now the disturbance are over. Let me get down to business. My business in the service of the Lord is to create this material universe. Now I will start doing this. So when he is contemplating on this thing, it's like a prelude, right? This verse is just contemplating, and Prabhupada there is writing the seeds of the next manifestation is already planted by the Lord. Right? It is not like Brahmaji is actually manifesting these various planetary systems and everything else, including the humans. They are not in that sense created by Brahma, but the seeds have already been planted by the Supreme Lord, and they are all impregnated in that huge lotus which is spread across the entire universe. We can only imagine how it is, how the lotus is covering the entire the length and breadth of this entire material manifestation, on top of which Brahmaji is sitting. And he's seeing these things, Prabhupada is writing, when the seeds were implanted by the Lord originally in those various, it's like we go on a treasure hunt, right? Sometimes when you are in those camps, when you are in school, the scouts and guides and all, when we were there, they will keep some different articles, and they take you to some forest area. They will keep some different things there in different places and say, you go and figure out where it is, find out, and there'll be some gift there. You go and figure it out and make it. Like this here, all these planetary systems are already embedded in that lotus. Now, Brahmaji's job is to actually go find out and then germinate them. The seed is there. He has to now do the secondary activity of germinating them and making them come out. So that is his job. And here is the first activity is called Sarga. That means the Lord's original seeding this entire lotus is actually called Sarga, and Brahmaji's secondary creation is called Visarga. So that is being mentioned here by Prabhupada. This is a prelude. And the next verse, says, thus engaged in the services of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Brahma entered into the world of the lotus. And as it spread all over the universe, he divided into 3 divisions of the world and later into 14 divisions. So it's a big maze, right? That entire lotus spread across the entire universe. We can't even comprehend how it will be. So Brahma is most intelligent. He's the most, if there is anyone who's most intelligent Jiva, is only Lord Brahma. Nobody else can be as intelligent as Lord Brahma. Now he is, of course, empowered personality, and therefore he is using his ability to understand what is what. And he's actually doing, like all of us we do, right? If you have to prepare for something, you first take it into a couple of, okay, let me divide it into 3 sections or 4 sections. High level, you will understand, okay, these 4. Then you go into each section and then say, okay, within this section, I will see these 5 points, 6 points, 7 points, like that. Then it is easy to remember. So that way, Lord Brahma is actually going and he's dividing first into 3 parts, then further into 14 parts. And let me see what Prabhupada has written there. For this, there is no commentary by Srila Prabhupada. We'll go forward then. Then he's writing, Lord Brahma is the most exalted personality in the universe because of his costless devotional service unto the Lord in mature transcendental knowledge. He therefore created all the 14 planetary divisions for inhabitants 14 planetary divisions for inhabitations by the different types of living entities. So first we remember, first he divided into 3, then he divided further into 14. Now here he's giving a commentary on, the qualification of Lord Brahma, that, he is the most exalted personality in the universe. The most, it's not one among the most. So that means there is no one more intelligent than Lord Brahma in the material creation. Period. He is the most, not like he is very intelligent. No, he is the most is the word used. Therefore, there is nobody who is more intelligent than Lord Brahma. And the narration now starts like this to understand, how this, why these 14 planetary systems are there. That is being explained here by Prabhupada. He's saying, see, what is the logic of him trying to break it into this 14 steps, right? So there it is mentioned, Prabhupada is explaining, see, all of these material, all of these living entities are all actually part and parcel of the personality of Godhead, right? We are all having that little quality of that Supreme Personality of Godhead, not all, some small portion of that Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and the Godhead is unlimited. Krishna is unlimited. There is no, okay, is Krishna, these qualities, can only be measured like this? No. Therefore, as much as there is Krishna's qualities and in different magnitude, there are these different parts and parcel of the Supreme Personality also having various levels of qualities of, sense, whatever, it could be a sense of enjoyment, whatever, everything is in different levels, in different things. Now, to give a place for all of these living entities who are actually part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you need different worlds, right? Different atmosphere. Like, when you have children, you will know, but children will have, you may have to take them to Wonderla, you may have to take them to the zoo, you may have to take them to one science exhibition, different things. They have so many of these desires, and they have so many different interests in life. Now, this is an illusory energy, the illusory world, right? Material world is illusory world. So there is so much imagination for these people that, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. Now you need to create these different wonderlas of the world, right? That's Brahma's job, to create all these illusory things where people go and think, wow, this is fantastic. This is what I was born for. I will enjoy this. So he has to create this. So these 14 different planets, according to the needs of these different personalities, these living entities, the different forms have to be given to them, and each form in a different place they will be there, and the environment in which they can so-called enjoy or be in illusion, whichever way you look at it. That has to be created, and therefore he creates these different 14 planetary systems. And the higher classification, he is giving this as, we know that, the higher planetary system, middle planetary system, lower planetary system, and the higher is called Swarga Loka, middle is Bhur Loka, and the lower one is Patala Loka. So that is the creation. Then he is saying, even within this, these three, the higher and middle, at a higher level of definition of higher planetary system, middle and lower, they are all subject to annihilations. Like, so whenever the annihilation happens, everything will get submerged into that ocean. But there are three more above that, which maybe, I don't know. I mean, right now I don't have the full clarity. Of the upper, I understand like this. Of the upper, there are three planetary systems which does not actually get submerged into the water. And Prabhupada is quoting those three. He's saying still higher planetary, he's using the word, right? Namely the lower planetary, lower planets called the Patala Loka, the middle planets called the Bhur Loka, and the upper planets called the Swarga Lokas. Still higher planets such as the Makara Loka, Tapaloka, and Makara Loka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and Brahma Loka do not dissolve in the devastating water. So these four planetary systems, even though they are in a way part of the material universe, they do not dissolve during the the pralaya. They remain, and those personalities who are, even though in the material world, are there, and they will remain there, and at the end of their whatever life, mostly Prabhupada is writing, they will actually go back to God. So they don't have to go through what we go through of a dissolution and then a creation, recreation, dissolution, recreation. No. Those people are there, and after a certain point in time, once their purification is complete, they are transferred to the spiritual world. So these four lokas, Makara Loka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and Brahma Loka, do not dissolve. And Prabhupada is writing, this is because of the costless devotional service rendered unto the Lord by their inhabitants. So those personalities are such great devotees that they have done so much of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of the costless devotional service rendered unto the Lord by their inhabitants, whose existence continues up to the Dviparartha time. Up to that time, they remain, those personalities, when they are generally liberated from the chain of birth and death in the material world. So those three planets are very special, not the way we are, our material section, our portions of the material world is, but that is much more elevated. Those personalities are different, but I think overall, all of, including those, there are three divisions only. The top layer, middle layer, and the bottom layer. And the middle and the bottom and a portion of the top gets submerged during dissolution. This is how I understand this verse. Then let's go to we are on the dot. I will take a couple more minutes to finish. We have finished the 9 verses. I'm in the 10th one now. Vidura inquired from Maitreya, "O my Lord, greatly learned sage, kindly describe eternal time, which is another form of the Supreme Lord, the wonderful actor. What are the symptoms of that eternal time? Please describe them to us in detail." So here now he's moving from one aspect to slightly to a different aspect where he's talking about, therefore, but now what is called time? Please tell me what that is all about. And Prabhupada there is actually trying to explain what is time. He says time or kala is the what you call it is kind of, it's actually this, the form, it is actually the Lord. Kala is actually the Lord, but in its unmanifested form. And here it is saying, like, the time is a very important aspect, right? The time is actually, like, is measured in different ways. The time is for different things. For example, he's saying there is a time for the annihilation of the body of the human being. There is a time for atomic dissolution, and there is a time for universal dissolution. So the time has various dimensions to it. And all of this thing is very important when you talk about a material creation, because there is a set of activities that is to happen, and the change from something to something has to be measured in some form, and that form is actually the definition of time, right? Something changes from X to Z, and how do you measure that change from X? Like, how it happened means during the course of time, we say, right? In the course of time, it happened like that. Therefore, that is the measure of why when something keeps changing in this material world, and that is very important. And without that, material creation cannot. So the time actually forms the backstage, like, it's a backdrop. In that backdrop, this drama of illusory energy is actually happening. So we can understand that, right? Like, if you change the scene from if you put an office scene here, then the whole thing mood becomes like, okay, I'm working in an office. Suddenly you change this into a nice sea and a nice an umbrella and all of these things, then the mood changes. So this time is like that background in which this entire, what you call that, illusion is actually played out, and everything is changing based on this backdrop of time. And that is very, very important, but that you should understand is not different from Lord. It is the energy of the Lord by which he is actually controlling this material world. That's why we say, no, whether you believe in Lord or not, you will have to face the Lord some point in time. And not that the Lord is personally coming to give us darshan here. Yeah, if I'm a non-believer, but the Lord still comes in the form of Kala, which is not his personal form, but it is unmanifested form. That is what we need to understand here. Maitreya said, eternal time is the primeval source of interaction of the three modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless. Time changes everything, but time does not change. This is very important, right? In the course of time, I became like, my hair became white, but time is always the same. It is unchangeable and limitless, and it works as the instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastime in the material creation. So it's an instrument in the hand of the Lord, and he is putting that to make the so-called enjoyment of the living entities, but gives them their quota. Your quota ends here, your quota starts here, and that we define by way, the Lord defines by way of time. And there's a lot of very complicated things which are written there. I don't think I can go into those things at this point in time. And he says, I'll try to read some of those. Factually, however, time has nothing to do with the relativity of things. Rather, everything is shaped and calculated in terms of the facility offered by which we calculate past, present, and future. But in factual calculation, time has no beginning and no end. So time measures everything, but time is not measured. There are many, many things here which this is very deep. I think we may have to take a complete, maybe 1 or 2 classes to really understand what Prabhupada has written. Very technical here. And therefore, I'll read one portion of Jiva Goswami. But how do we understand time? Okay, all this is there, but how do we understand? He says, therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami concludes that the time factor is intermixed with the activities, actions, and reactions of the external energy of the Lord. I'll read again. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami concludes that the time factor is intermixed with the activities, actions, and reactions. So, by activities that we perform, there is some reactions. And how this is played out during the course, or when you say course, it is time. How it is played out for a particular personality is in the backdrop of the time. That is how we understand this. The external energy or material nature works under the superintendence of time factor as the Lord himself, and that is why material nature appears to have produced so many wonderful things in the cosmic manifestation. Bhagavad Gita 9.10 confirms the association, this conclusion as follows: Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetu nanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. So he's quoting this. So basically, as I said, what is our understanding of time is that is the backdrop in which all the leelas of the material of the jivas are happening. That's all. If you have to understand time, and we need to understand that this time is actually not different from the Lord, but it is the unmanifested energy of the Lord, and that is used only in this material world as a tool by the Lord. Some of the things that we learned today from this particular section. Then verse 12, this cosmic manifestation is separated from the Supreme Lord as material energy by means of Kala, which is the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Lord. It is situated as the objective manifestation of the Lord under the influence of the same material energy of Vishnu, similar to what we have already discussed. Next is, this cosmic manifestation is as it is now. It was the same in the past, and it will continue in the same way in the future. This is what I was saying in the beginning. Even this cosmic manifestation is not changing over, okay, in this yuga, it will be like this. In the next 10 trillion years, this will be different. No, he says, this cosmic manifestation came up like this and dissolved like this, and it will continue to be like this even now, and in the future also it will remain. So that entire drama is set. Any living entity who wants to be independent of Krishna, he will go into this system. And this conveyor belt will work in the same way. That's it. It is not going to be changed differently for different times, which I talked, if I remember earlier, right? I said, Kali Yuga, this Bhagavatam or the Vedas are different. Now in Kali Yuga, it is different. No, it's all the same. Even the cosmic manifestation itself does not change, and it is the same even in the past and the present and the future. Then what is our little small 100 years, 200 years, what will change? Nothing will change. Everything has to be the same. So with that, I think we are concluding. Let me see. Last one. Last two. Give me 5 more minutes if you don't mind. There are 9 different kinds of creations besides the one which naturally occurs due to the interactions of the modes. There are 3 kinds of annihilations due to eternal time, the material elements and the quality of one's work. Okay, so now 2 things have been told. These are technical, but try to understand at a high level. I am also trying to understand that way. So now when you talk about creation, there are 14 items which are there. That now in the next verse, what are those 14 items? One by one, you will understand that. Like now, for example, the creation of the ego is one of the items in that 14. I'm giving a just sample of. So there are 9 different kinds of creation, not 14, 9 different kinds of creations. That is one aspect of it. And the annihilations they are talking about here, there are 3 types of annihilations are there. So creation, there are 9. Annihilations, there are 3. There are 3 kinds of annihilations due to eternal time, the material elements, and the quality of one's work. And Prabhupada is saying, as I am saying, those 9 items will be elaborately discussed later. Here, just understand Prabhupada is saying the 3 kinds of annihilations are: 1, due to the scheduled time of the annihilation of the entire universe. So there is a time fixed for each manifestation to end. It will start at that particular time, it will end at that particular time. Second one is due to the fire which emanates from the mouth of Ananta. There is one type of annihilation which is actually happening because of the fire which emanates from the mouth of Ananta. And the third one is due to one's qualitative actions and reactions. These are the 3 types. So in the course of the actions and reactions, our period comes to an end, right? At some point in time, my actions of particular set of activities are ending. I need to be annihilated. then I am recreated and given a new body, and then I continue that. So that is the third kind of annihilations which are happening. So this is what Prabhupada has written about this here. Nothing much he has written. The last verse is, of the 9 creation, the first one is the creation of the Mahat Tattva, or the sum total of the material ingredients, wherein the modes interact due to the presence of the Supreme Lord. In the second, the false ego is generated, in which the material ingredients, material knowledge, and material activities arise. So out of the 9 items, in this verse, 2 items are talked about. That's why I requested Sri Hari Prabhu that next week they can start off with this verse, so that they have a complete discussion of the 9 items. But at a high level, we understand here the first 2 are, one is the creation of the Mahat Tattva, which is basically all the ingredients assembling all the ingredients necessary for the material creation. The Lord is performing that. And the second one is the creation of the ego. That means the false ego. That means, which is the basic ingredient to think, yes, I am the Lord of the universe. That illusion we talked about. What is the first thing that you should forget? That I am a part and parcel of the Lord. Otherwise, you cannot think I am the enjoyer, right? So you should forget that and think that I am the enjoyer. So that is created, that false ego is created by Brahma, because with which the person comes here and enjoys life. Because the Lord is merciful. Okay, you want to forget me and enjoy? Here I give you forgetfulness. And I will give you a new identity called false ego. With that, you think I am the boss. So you go and enjoy. That ego is created by Brahma. So these are the 2 things which are discussed here. Elaborations will go on in subsequently. I will end here. If there are any specific questions or answers or any comments, most welcome. Hare Krishna. I don't know if I, sort of made things clear. So devotees are like very, very quiet.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Lord Brahma was responsible for the creations, and he now I don't know whether I'm deviating from the whole creation and about Lord Vishnu and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, this is the first time in my life of past so many years I am witnessing or watching Brahmotsavams, which is happening in Tirupati.
Okay.
So, what is this Brahmotsavam? If you can, and we of course I did witness or get to see this Jagannath Yatra last 2 years because I just entered into this field of spirituality. Now this is being celebrated in such a opulent way, and lakhs and lakhs of people have come from all over the world to get blessings of Govinda. So I think this does have so much of importance in this, what do you call, our devotional life. So can you throw some light on it, Prabhuji?
Absolutely. So in Tirumala, the Brahmotsavam are conducted twice. See, Utsavam is basically glorification of the Supreme Personality of God. If you go to Sri Rangam, out of 365 days, I think more than 360 days or something, there is festival every day. So the idea of our existence here is actually to glorify the Lord, come to our original state, go back to Godhead. Simple. And to do that, the facility is simply to glorify and enjoy the greatness of the Supreme Personality of God. That means appreciate and surrender to that Supreme Personality of God. So these Utsavams are there. Prabhupada said, I can give you a festival every day in ISKCON. Go on celebrating festivals and that way go back to Godhead. So now the point is, to your question of Brahmotsavam, So when we talk about these kind of festivals, as per the there is like a science when you do a particular what do you call process, like in devotional service also, the method of worship we call, right? There is a grammar for that. You can't do whatever way you like. There's a grammar for that, and as per that grammar, it is mentioned that the topmost person should preside over that festival, right? It's not like what we do. Even if you see material things, when you have to start a program, they call some chief guest, right? He's supposed to be a very elevated personality. Now, when you are doing a utsavam for the Lord, that means for the Supreme Lord, then the topmost person should come down, and in his presence, in his under his leadership, everything should happen. Therefore, Lord Brahma is actually invited first. Lord Brahma is invited in Tirumala that you please come, and then you preside over the entire festival that we are going to do. So they actually make a declaration, then there is the stupa, then they raise a flag. All this is part of the grammar of how a worship has to be performed. In that invocation of Lord Brahma, there is one of the important elements. So actually at that point in time, Lord Brahma comes to Tirumala. And under his leadership, everything is happening. If you see, in that every procession is happening, one ratha will go. Actually, that ratha will have nothing inside. It will be a small ratha. I don't know how many of you would have noticed. There's a small rath there. And it will be pulled. No, why are they pulling a rath with nothing inside it? Lord Brahma, in his unmanifest form, is supposed to be seated in that. So he is leading the procession. Like when we take Jagannath Rath Yatra, you will see Prabhupada seated in the front, right? So he is the Acharya who is leading the procession, and Lord Jagannath is actually coming, and Prabhupada is leading, and we are all working for Prabhupada. Like that, Brahma is actually leading the procession, and everybody is working under the committee, whatever Brahmotsavam committee is all under Lord Brahma. That's how we understand. So Lord Brahma personally comes, and during that time, nobody should leave Tirumala. There are some this one. During that time, anybody who's come into Tirumala, they will remain there for that period. And there are so many grammar around that. But at a high level, this is what it is. And every temple who are having this specific following the the scriptural way, the procedure, there are some specifications given. They follow such rules and regulations. This Brahmotsavam is like this, where Lord Brahma personally comes, and then he presides over the Brahmotsavam. That Utsavam is for that period of time, after which Lord Brahma is sent off also in a very nice manner.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanvat Pranam. Prabhuji, I'm a bit confused. Actually, in the beginning, it is a conversation between Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. And then it is the conversation shifts to Vidura and Maitreya.
Yes.
But you told Shaunaka Muni, no, Prabhuji. How is that? I'm a bit confused.
No, so the second portion is happening between, so first one is Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, right? In
Yes,
that, Shukadeva, what do you call, Suta Goswami is a student there. Okay. So Suta Goswami is a student hearing to Shukadeva Goswami, and later Suta Goswami is in another place called Naimisharanya, and there he is actually giving the same discourse what he heard from Shukadeva Goswami. And in that assembly of all the people who are hearing, right, who all come to hear that message, the head of that assembly is called Saunaka Muni.
That means Shaunaka is like a speaker only, no, Prabhuji?
No, he is hearing. He is hearing. Like, for example, here, don't take it in that term. Like I am speaking, Sri Hari Prabhu is representing all of you, right?
Yes.
So now, I mean, if in this example, if I am Suta Goswami, Sri Hari Prabhu is Saunaka Rishi. That means everyone is here, but he is the coordinator. That way.
Spokesperson kind of a thing.
Yes. So Saunaka Muni is asking questions to Suta Goswami on behalf of all the members there.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
That way you
Krishna.
should understand here, yes. Hare Krishna.